Hey, dummies. It's February 4th. Now, that's when I'm recording this. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why you tell me the date? Because in 10 days it's going to be Valentine's Day, and if you have a girl, which I'm paying you the respect and assuming that you do, she's gonna want something. No, girls, that's what they're like. They just want stuff. They want presents. They want to know that you care about them, and that's a way that they consider you caring about them, is buying them stuff. Really inconveniencing yourself and buying them something. They like inconvenient stuff. So I have a secret way for you to. It's inconvenient, but it's not that inconvenient, and you can do it over your computer. You're going to go to proflowers.com. Here's the deal. Basically, look, man, if you don't get her something, she's going to be mad, and then you're basically not. It's just going to be she's going to be sulking the whole day, acting like nothing's wrong. It's going to be a miserable day. So just do what you can, which is go to proflowers.com, and you're going to get. There's a couple offers. There's one offer is you can get a dozen red roses with a free glass vase for $29, $29.99. Or you can upgrade to 1 dozen red roses with a premium ruby vase and gourmet chocolates for $39.99. So this is good. They're good roses. It's good chocolate. This will convince her that you care. Pro Flowers is quick, easy, and delivery on Valentine's Day is guaranteed. Just do it now. Go to proflowers.com. Click on the blue microphone in the top right corner and type in The Champs. TheChamps. That's proflowers.com. Click the microphone, type in The Champs. The deal expires soon. You're probably listening to this in the next week. Just do it now. Just go. Just hit pause. Go to proflowers.com. Click the microphone, type in The Champs. Take care of you and your girl and all of your needs. Hi, everyone.
I wish you could see us. This is Moshe. That was Neal. I wish you could see what we're doing right now. We're in the parking lot of Arsenio Hall Show. Everything's closed down. We're post-interview. It's a great episode. Everybody's gone. We're cold, but we remembered. We want to tell you about our stand-up.
We guys know you love our dates.
We know this is your favorite part.
Don't fast forward. I know you're not going to. Why am I even telling you that? You love hearing us talk about cities and dates.
No one was fast forward.
I'm not doing shit. Just download my album off iTunes.
What is that album
Neal Brennan,
called?
Women and Black Dudes. And if you live in L.A., come to my Sunday show in Santa Monica, 9 p.m. $5.
$5 is a good deal. Hey, it's Moshe. Hey, February 15th, I'll be at the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, Virginia. February 27th through March 1st, Madison, Wisconsin, the Comedy Club on State. I'm in Charlotte, March 6th through 8th. And very important, this show is going to be good. April Fool's Day, New Orleans, One Eye Jacks with Tom Lennon and Natasha. Laugh Boston the weekend after that. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, you know what? Check this out. It's fucking Arsenio Hall.
It's a truly great interview. He's really funny and interesting and cool.
Yeah, so listen.
God bless. And this song that I'm about to play is T-Pain's remix of the Lord Song Royal. And to quote Paul Mooney, it's all very, very black, homie.
It's very black.
It's very black.
Goodbye.
Photos on the Chevy. Every song is like happy head, smoke, drink, tell us what's up. Moon, no Wednesday, nigga, fill the truck up. We don't care. Look at all these Cadillacs on 20. And every song was like work hard, play hard, money over everything. Cowboy hat and a hubcap for the chain. We don't care. Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Now you're fucking with the Champs.
Hello, everybody. It's the Champs Podcast back once again. That's an exciting week. This is an exciting week. Neal, tell us how excited you are.
Well, our guest today, I've bugged him via Twitter 2 years about doing this.
Yes. And I wanted to do it. So I'm glad I'm finally here.
Yeah.
Oh, do you recognize the voice?
Do you recognize that voice?
I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of your writing and his glasses.
Oh, thank you. That that's what I care most about.
That's how we differentiate ourselves, Moshe, Mr. Glasses.
Neal Brennan, a classic comedy writer. Moshe Kasher, a dude with dope glasses, and of course, you may recognize that voice. It's the one and only
Arsenio Hall. All right, brother.
Hey,
so
thank
here's
y'all.
I have questions, like personal questions that I've always wanted answered.
Uh-oh. Cool.
What was happening with your life in 1985? To me, there was no context for you. You came out of seemingly nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, I knew you were on Amazon Women on the Moon. Fantastic.
Yes. My best work.
Fantastic.
And you know what? I understand the Oscars, but why the Image Awards didn't give me a nod?
It's for broadest performance. Broadest.
I don't get it.
It was very broad. It was him and a faucet.
And my character died in that scene.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, you don't get to see a funeral or anything, but he fell from 8 floors to his death.
Did they cut to a wide of it?
Yeah. I think I fell and hit the concrete, and there was a man sweeping.
Yes.
Very
good.
Yes.
Was that your thing at first? Was you wanted to be a comedic actor? Or?
Well, okay. So here's the deal. I've known what I wanted to do since I was like 5, but I just didn't know what you called it. My dad was a Baptist preacher, and when I was 5 years old, my dad said to me, "Do you want to go out in the pulpit with Daddy?" And I always had talked about his POV. I didn't use that acronym, but what's it like, Daddy? What's it like up there? And I would see my father with just his voice make women run and scream. And at that time, there was no R. Kelly, so no one was making women do crazy stuff with just their voice.
Your dad was the Baptist R. Kelly of his time.
Yes!
That's amazing.
Yes!
Fantastic.
And I'm sure if there was a project that he did, black panties would have been included with it because he was a very hip
Shout out
preacher.
to R. Kelly. Was he like a popular Baptist preacher in Cleveland?
Yeah, my dad was a popular Baptist preacher in the inner city of Cleveland on Holton Avenue. He had a church called the Elizabeth Baptist Church. And that morning he said, "Follow me." And I walked with him, and I made that grand walk down this hall that seemed like it was headed to the Rose Garden when you were a little kid. But when you go back, you find out, it was only 3 feet. I mean, things felt bigger and more grand.
Yeah.
But I walked down that hall, and I'm holding his hand.
How old are you?
I'm probably, my mother and father got a divorce when I was
to hear
about
it.
6. Yeah, so this had to be 5.
Okay.
I'm trying to pin the time down. So he sits me in his chair, and then he walks to the pulpit because the choir's finishing up. And I sat behind him while he preached for the next hour to this congregation in the inner city of Cleveland.
Just collecting the panties from.
Yeah. I was working with the deacons to recover the panties after the sermon was complete. But it was bizarre because you don't know how to describe it as a kid, but you're seeing someone with their oratory skills control a room in a way that only musicians and maybe stand-ups can do.
Right.
Years later, I went to see Al Green. There was a comic who opened for him, and I watched him take them from a mob at the Cleveland Public Auditorium into saying, "Hey, this guy is pretty funny." And
Who was it?
His name was Herb Jupert.
No.
And we would there was nothing to Google then. So wherever he is, that's the first stand-up comic I ever saw perform. And at that point, I put it together. He does the part of what my father does that I can handle.
For the devil. He does what your dad does, but for the devil.
Yes. Yeah. Because that was because I'm thinking like, I know I can't be a preacher because there are too many rules.
Right.
Right.
But comedy, you can pretty much make it up. I walked in the Comedy Store one time and Andy Kaufman was wrestling. So you pretty much can make up your own rules in this.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool that you didn't even have a language to articulate it as a child, but you still went.
You just wanted to
whatever
be
that is. That's
talking in front of people.
Yeah.
And moving people.
Yeah, but here's another interesting thing. Years later, I was a drummer. Okay,
Right.
So I'm the guy in the band who plays timpani and glockenspiel and all those kind of things. And then, of course, it's natural that you'd form a band with some of the members of the orchestra and you'd have your own garage band. So I'm the drummer now. I got a Rogers Blue Onyx Pearl set of drums. I got 2 toms, 2 upper toms, a lower tom, 5 zildjian cymbals, snare drum. What I'm getting to is a lot of shit. A lot of shit to
Were
carry.
you the guy who had a lot of shit but wasn't very good?
Well, yeah, that too. That too. And my paradiddle was not that tight. And I was also a magician. You know where I'm going? A lot of shit. I had 6 birds. Yeah. I've raised doves at my crib. I made cabinets. My mother had to buy a station wagon because I was making money doing it. I would do bar mitzvahs and birthday parties and things. But
now you're 10, 12?
Yeah, now I'm about 12. I worked at a magic shop on the weekends. My mother would take me to do my gigs. But once again, I know I'm talking, and even as a drummer, I'm talking between songs. Yeah, that was a song that we all love, from, Boss Skaggs.
I have nothing to say, just giving information. And that was.
Before we get to the next
by
song.
the way, I got 5 zillions up here.
Because I was the better talker.
If you do need a magician, I am available for that as well.
And later on that was coming. But I would try to get laughs when I was talking. I had my little patter, and it's interesting that even then, I knew what I wanted: a stool and a glass of water. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted to travel with. I know tom-toms and birds and cabinets. And I love being a magician and I love being a drummer. But I found what you do when you want to talk, but you don't want that other shit.
So how did you, the Herb Jupert guy?
Watching him that brought it together. Herb Jupert in front of Al Green.
Did you, if you went to an Al Green show.
By the way, the fact that they did not want him there was important.
Yeah.
Right. And he alchemized them to do his will.
Yes, Al Green's coming out. Who is this?
It's like when I do
Herb Jupert.
Yeah.
It's like when I do Tripping on Tuesdays at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Someone said, I love watching you do black rooms because at first they fucking hate you.
Right.
And within 3 minutes they're like, all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
I'm with him.
Yeah.
I'm with him.
But did you
not? Usually your intro changes
the intro.
rule.
Yeah, but some people are like,
you go out there without that intro.
I think him and Dave had some kind of beef. There's some kind of nebulous wait, they might. Yeah. Wait, where are they?
This might be the white man that made him leave for Africa.
Exactly.
Because the story is so convoluted and confusing.
Exactly. We'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to Africa.
See, okay, but did you not know who Richard Pryor was?
When I was really young, being the son of a Baptist preacher, I wasn't allowed to listen to a lot of stuff. I had snuck a Red Foxx party album,
right?
And it was something about green apples and something. I remember
Pussy. Go ahead.
Yeah, Green Apples and Pussy was the title of that CD or album. No. But I remember listening to it when my mother wasn't home and putting it back because I remember exactly where it was hidden. There was an end table next to the couch, and that couch end table had a door in it. If you went inside there was albums, and there was Pig Meat Markham, and there was Red Foxx, and I think I just went with Red Foxx because he looked cooler than Pig Meat Markham.
Yep.
But
that is hilarious. That's like finding your dad's VHS pornos, but it's just comedy albums.
Yeah,
like,
right.
That was the version of that. That's as bad. Yeah.
They used, in Arsenio, they used to listen to porn on audio.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Because,
it was so wild.
That's when you would first hear that guitar.
Yeah.
Wild ticket down.
You knew some shit was about to go down.
Any young man take my wife, please? But
yeah.
then you actually did take his wife.
A guy would come in.
Take her pussy, please.
Okay, so
and her green apple.
All right, so you're in Cleveland.
You got to find that album.
And you're in Cleveland, and you're like, all right, now I know what stand-up is. I've seen Jupert, Turnham, and now when do you go to an open mic? What do you do?
Okay.
You're doing magic?
Now, keep in mind, I'm 112 years old, okay?
Okay, yeah.
At that time, there was no open mic. Those two words together don't exist.
Right.
I'm in Cleveland. There are no comedy clubs in the flats. I go to college. I'm at Kent State. A movie is coming out called Car Wash, and they tell me that a guy from Car Wash is coming to our school.
Franklin?
And he's gonna,
Yep.
Very good. He's going to do stand-up.
Yeah.
Oh.
You've still never done stand-up?
No.
You've never seen it live?
And I don't even think the two words ever came out of my mouth. I don't think, there's no time when I ever said stand-up.
You said green apples and pussy a lot.
Yeah, I said that many times.
How do you not?
And my teacher had said stand up a few times when I was doing some fucked up comedy shit. But see, even then I was practicing and didn't know it.
Right.
But so okay, bottom line is I'm at college. I go to the auditorium at Kent State, and I'm sitting. I watch a guy walk out. He had a stool with a drink on it. I'm like,
and you literally were like, you literally visualized.
Yeah,
where are your doves?
Yes, this guy has no birds.
You had never seen a stool and water before? You just had that image in your mind, meaning like you had that image in your mind and you were like, that's what I want?
Well, it's just it came to me at that moment.
Got it. All right.
At that moment, it's like,
All right.
I have no idea what I've been searching for. But I
Right.
think I just found it. It's a stool with water on it.
Well, there is
Great.
something beautiful about the simplicity of what stand-up is. It's one man, one mic,
the
a
best.
stool, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the course of that, he made women scream. He made people laugh. He made people stand up. He made people applaud at the beginning, many times in the middle, and at the end. And when that motherfucker said something about, I should have played saxophone, he did a joke, and it was an incredible story about how Kunta Kinte was captured. But it started with going out to get wood to make a drum and get the skin to put over the drum. And then he was captured by the American slave masters and taken in the mid-passage across to Europe and then to America, where many of his family members died. And that long story leads to, I should have played saxophone.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious because we kind of stole it unwittingly in a sketch, not in a similar way on Chappelle's show.
But it's a formula.
And did you talk to Franklin after the show, or did you just
Yeah.
Oh, you went up
much
to
more
him?
than Franklin wanted to, because recently Dice was here and he talked about how one night I talked for 3 hours and he was trying to get some pussy and he needed me to stop talking so he could get this pussy. That's what happened that night. But I really appreciate Franklin Ajayi because he's on a campus at Kent State.
Yeah.
You know how much pussy you get when you go do a date at a college.
Sure.
If you got a movie coming out
Yeah.
called Car Wash.
And it's
But that is
1975.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. When people.
And it's pre-AIDS.
They just
It's
discovered what pussy is.
It was invented in
dying-
1994,
Yes,
right?
and they're giving it out much
They're dying.
easier
They're
in
dying to use
75.
it. They're dying to use it.
But don't you love that
1975.
image of Franklin rolling his eyes and, oh, God, this young kid.
Yeah.
And it's Arsenio Hall. I mean,
I'm asking
that's
him
like
about
a great
the
image.
comedy
Talk to him
store.
about it. Did he ever remember it?
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh,
he
that's
remembered
funny.
all of it. I
That's
talked to
awesome.
him long enough where you remember it. You
Got
remember,
it.
oh, yeah, you're the guy that kept me from getting pussy in Ohio.
Still mad?
yeah. But I
pussy that
sat.
could have been.
Oh, my God. I sat with him, and it was great because I asked him about the comedy store, how you got started. Do you have a manager? What is a manager? I literally asked it in that sequence. I said, you have a manager? Because you've heard the
Right.
word.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so what is a manager? You know?
Right.
And he told me all that shit. And he talked to me. And then he said, contact me, man, when you come to
Oh, that's
Hollywood,
nice.
That
you
is
know?
nice.
And, of course, I had been told to contact Leno. And I'm thinking all these people are full of shit.
How did you meet Jet?
Well, this is long
Right.
after I leave. Okay, I leave. I want to graduate. Okay, so I don't leave immediately, and I say that because I remember Steve Harvey having the show business dream, and he disappeared, and I never knew where he went.
you knew Steve in Cleveland.
Yeah, I knew Steve in Cleveland. I knew Steve at Kent State.
Did he go to Kent State? Or he just,
Yeah, for a while.
He has a PhD in suit making. Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
He
I-
majored in 7 buttons. I believe.
He's has a doctorate in oversized suits. Am I wrong there?
As a matter of fact, the reason I met Franklin Ajayi is because Steve's best friend, a guy named Curtis Perry, was the promoter. And this is way too much information. Right now, only Steve's saying
you
it's
know
a
what?
good show.
No. That's what people love. They love specificity.
No, yeah.
Yeah, fucking details. But yes, so Steve was at Kent, and I knew him I'd seen him around, and I knew him to be from Cleveland. And there was an A.J. Jamal,
Yeah.
who also wanted to be a comic. And but Steve went away, and then I didn't see him again until years later. But why am I even telling
So you knew
this part of
Jay,
the story?
the Leno story. Yeah, and then
Oh
you
yeah,
met
oh yeah,
him.
oh it's bizarre. So Franklin says what he says, and I never see him again, obviously, and I go on and finish my schooling. I have a band. I'm making a little money with my college band, playing drums, and not doing magic anymore.
Thank God.
Because you can't keep your doves in a dorm, which instantly became a problem.
Even back then, you could.
yeah. Even the rules are very similar today about doves
in the dorm.
They are sticklers.
Years later, I go to Chicago because Cleveland doesn't have comedy clubs.
Yeah.
And I hear about Second City. I don't even go for comedy clubs. I go to audition for a man who died within the last 12 months named Bernie Salas. And
Okay.
Bernie was a huge producer and talent mogul or whatever. I don't know what you call. Bernie was a comedy genius. He worked at Second City. I auditioned for him, and he said, if you'd like to be a part of Second City, we'd love to have you.
What was your audition?
It was improv, and I don't remember the details. And here's why. As I left, I walked down a street called Wells Street, and I saw Zanies. My theme to life is stand-up kept rearing its ugly head, but it didn't have a name.
Yeah,
right,
you know?
That's interesting.
I'm walking past Zanies down Wells Street, and I see an open mic sign, and I decided to come check that out.
Right.
I know that much, that comedy's done here.
Right.
And I never went back to Second City after seeing stand-ups on Wells Street.
Wow.
Because then it all came together. But Leno was in a place called the Comedy Womb one night. And I've been working out.
That was known for having the worst name in the history of comedy, correct? Comedy, it was known for that.
Hey, as many
the Comedy
comics,
Womb, quote, the worst name in the history of comedy.
That was parentheses on the building.
Exactly.
You know, it's funny because as many comics as we see do jokes about yucks, tee-hees, milk through your nose, all these different names, no one ever fucks with the womb.
No, I know. That,
and they should.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, because, and obviously the pun was where comedians are born.
Right.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
not everyone knows that place was actually owned by a baby. It was a comedy room. Supposed to be the comedy room.
Yeah, he didn't speak well. He didn't speak good English. It was baby time.
It was a baby. I mean,
some kind of diphthong involved in this story. By the way, Willem was meant to be William.
Diphthong. By the way,
family.
By the way, Diphthong was one of my favorite Def Jam comics of all time.
Oh,
right.
God.
Diphthong and
yes.
Shucky Ducky back to back.
And they're they're a great hip hop collective. Diphthong. Shucky Ducky.
Ham sandwich. You know what? There are people who don't do stand-up in the room saying, what the fuck are they talking about? Who is Shucky Ducky and what does ham sandwich mean?
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay, so I'm at the Comedy Womb, and my friend says to me, I flipped a coin with Ted, and I get to pick up Leno from the airport. Two comics flipped a coin, and
wanted to pick him up.
And that also says that at that time Jay Leno was being picked up by a comic in a Camaro instead of a limo.
Yeah.
You know, that's how long ago this was. Leno comes to the club. He holds court, as comics do. I don't know how long we're going to talk, but every comic knows, or every Seinfeld will tell you a story about Cosby holding court, Richard holding court. We've all had our sessions where you sit for hours and listen to your hero. I've had many famous...
I do that anytime I go to Eddie's house.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I fucking grill him.
You just sit and listen in the kitchen.
Sit in the kitchen and just grill him. And, like, to the point where I've been there, and even Mooney was like, go ahead and answer, brother.
Yeah. Oh.
Like, I want to know the answer, homie.
Oh, I know this nigga has the answer to this. I can't wait to hear what he says about marriage.
Serious.
Mooney. Oh, gosh. I can't wait to have Mooney here on the show. Okay. So when Leno finishes and he's holding court and everything, I'm sitting. And by the time he leaves Chicago, he's seen me do stand-up and tells me I should be in L.A. Hey, you're here in Chicago.
How long have you been doing it at that point?
Is that the baby that owns the womb? Or
that was. Here, what's interesting is that's the baby that owns the womb and Leno talking.
Yeah, so and you're like,
Similac.
Mavis.
So Mavis is little baby girl.
The bottom line is, Leno says, if you ever come to L.A., call me. So I went to L.A. and I called Leno first, then Franklin.
Great.
Franklin didn't answer. Leno did. That's the weird thing. When those kind of guys tell you to call them, you can't even believe, because I'm from Cleveland, you can't even believe that Jay Leno would say, call me, and really answer the phone.
Yeah.
You know, that's the guy in the green suit who does the philosophy joke from The Tonight Show.
Would you do it? If you, Arsenio, now you're at some gig somewhere, some kid is like, man, I've been thinking about, I wouldn't.
Was there a point? I bet you did it every once in a while.
Do it and still do. And I'll tell you why. because of what Franklin did that night, when I know he wanted to get some pussy.
Yeah.
You know? And I know he went back to the hotel alone after I talked to him. I've had Bill Cosby sit in Atlantic City in a dressing room and talk to me from the time he gets off stage till 4 a.m. with a cigar. When the cigar goes, I go. That's how it used to be. Cosby would hold court. I've had Richard Pryor sit and talk to me and Sam Kinison and Keenan Wayans. Long story short, I always said, I can never even explain these moments, but I will always do it if I get the opportunity. And you hope you get famous, and you hope someone wants you. Because me and Eddie were talking recently, like a week ago, and so many of our heroes are gone. And we were talking about doing Harlem Nights and not even realizing that when we're doing it, we're working with Richard and we're working with Red, and one day we'll look back and this will be a very important film for us because we worked with our heroes.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And
is there any truth to somebody told me that Pryor didn't love Eddie?
I have heard that,
Yeah.
but Pryor never said anything like that to me. As a matter of fact, I remember standing with Damon Wayans in Richard's house, and he talked about how much he appreciates Eddie and all of us who give him love. Richard was, I don't know whether this would be insecure or whatever, but Richard said, sometimes when y'all say stuff about me, I'm thinking like, you have to be teasing or joking. And then it dawned on me, y'all motherfuckers for real. This is in his house.
Yeah.
I remember that night he gave me a baseball bat with his name on it because he said, you had a birthday recently? And I said, yeah. He says, he reached in the corner. He said, here, happy birthday. And he gave me a baseball bat with Richard Pryor engraved below Louisville Slugger. I'll never fucking get rid of that bat.
No,
I won't
of
even
course
hit a motherfucker with that
Take
bat.
it to your
You
grave
come in
with
my
you.
house and I'd be like, I'm no LL
I'm gonna
Cool
go get
J.
something else.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Oh,
That's
my
fucking
God.
take it, literally
Shit.
have it buried with you.
I
'Cause
would
no one
scratch you with
deserves
a
that.
key before I hit you with that bat. But I remember the house he lived in, and I remember being with Damon, and he was very, very happy that this generation of comics dealt with him in the way because, you know, if you're Richard, you're hearing all of us say amazing things
Yeah.
about him more than anyone, even Robin.
Right.
You know, even Robin Williams back then would talk about Richard like Robin would talk about him like Robin had never done stand-up before. I mean,
Right.
he worshipped him and gave him respect, and Richard appreciated it to the point where sometimes he was like, wow, he was mesmerized and blown away by it.
Well, that's a testament to how rickety his self-esteem was. I mean, the fact that it never occurred to him how that I feel like he's the kind of guy that would argue with you if you said, you know, you're the best comedian ever. He'd be like, you know, like, no, you know, who was? I mean, he'd say Cosby probably, right?
I don't know about that.
Richard wouldn't say Cosby.
I don't. Yeah, because you know the one thing Richard and Eddie bonded on
Oh, go ahead.
was Cosby.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
No, but yes,
it's a famous bit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Eddie calling Richard to tell Richard about the
have a
problem he
coke
was
and a smile.
having. Yeah.
Yeah, something about it. Yeah. But having said that, Pryor did Cosby for the first 5 years of his career.
Yes.
So he did. He did hold some sort of weird.
And what Neal means by did Cosby, you know, back in the old days, you know, you could have an agent, and the agent might have a lot of young clients. Bill Cosby was at an agency, and they signed Richard. It was called ABC Booking. Old agent named Hal Monroe. I remember meeting him, and he told me the whole story at dinner. And this was way, way back. But you always look up to the guys who are the big dogs on that roster.
Right.
And Richard knew of Bill. And he was told to work clean because that's the best way to get where Bill is. The
Right.
best way to get on the Ed Sullivan Show. And so Richard was trying to get over. And
Right.
the bottom line is, at a certain point, he found himself. I think the coolest thing as a stand-up is to watch Richard performing at the Improv and not doing well, because it's the best motivator in the world. I don't think we ever imagined that nigga's crazy at one time was material that wasn't working.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so when you see him do the wino and a traffic cop and the shit's not quite there, or when the best thing a comic can do is get this project. I think it's done at the Improv in New York. When you're watching it, you even see, oh, that bit's not finished yet. There are 4 jokes on the Grammy-winning album.
Live and Smoking, the prior one?
Yeah. Or maybe that nigga's crazy.
Yeah.
Actually, some of the material. Actually, the material probably went to different projects.
Right.
You know, one was shot in front of a Soul Train audience, which is an interesting trivia question. You know, I think,
literally.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think that's Richard. You know, they weren't comedy wasn't what it is now. You know, Richard went to Don Cornelius and said, "I need a place to do my album."
Okay, so all right, I want to use that. So you come out to L.A. and you move here and you start doing stand up every night, Improv store.
Come to L.A. I check into a hotel on La Brea and call Jay.
Okay.
Jay comes and gets me on a motorcycle and takes me to find an apartment. But the shocking thing is now I'm holding on to Jay Leno like a woman on the back of a motorcycle, and I'm saying, this motherfucker actually answered the phone. I'm still in shock that he did exactly what he told me he would do.
Suit from the Tonight Show.
Yeah, he really was. It was actually a denim suit. It was a blue denim suit.
I think there's one of his headshots he's wearing it. I'm not even fucking around. Okay, so then you're out here for... You're a comedian. You're in L.A. You're a comedian.
Yeah, it was New Year's Eve, 1979. I got in the car and drove here. So the first daylight of 1980, I'm driving across country. You know, and literally, me and this chick, she wanted to be a writer.
Who wants to be a writer? My God.
She
not a good looking girl then.
It's bizarre. She became a prostitute, which is great.
Close enough.
Yeah. It's bizarre. It's like
going to do it one way or the other.
Yeah.
It's either for Hollywood or for just people picking her up.
It's crazy. But yeah, she came. We decided after a New Year's Eve party to drive out here.
Great. All right. So then you're doing stand up.
Yeah, I'm doing stand up. I'm going to the Comedy Store, trying to get on in some way. Bud Friedman let me on first. Mitzi started letting me go over to a place called Westwood.
Yeah, the store in Westwood.
Yeah, back in the day, the young comics couldn't work on Sunset at the main Comedy Store. You had to go to Westwood, where you'd see me, Howie Mandel, Pauly Shore, Sam Kinison, Keenan Wayans. It was crazy, but we were all young.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, and by the way, none of you were famous.
No.
Most of you probably weren't even very good.
Most of us sucked, but most of us sucked. But you know who didn't suck? Howie Mandel.
Oh,
that
really?
Motherfucker would crush it.
Crowd work?
You know, I remember things like the handbag with fingers on it.
Yeah.
I remember the glove he used to put on his head.
Yeah.
I remember him coming out one time with like an Izod Lacoste shirt, but the alligator was like 5 inches long or some shit on the shirt, you know. But no one wanted to follow Howie.
Got it.
And that includes me and Sam and Keenan.
I love the image of Sam Kinison. Like, I really don't
can't
want to follow
follow
that
this.
guy. I just
Because he would kill.
I don't want to follow that guy.
Yeah, he was a Michael Rotenberg's friend from Canada. I don't want to fuck with it. Yeah, he used to. Howie Mandel used to crush it, and I think he was a little more experienced than us.
Yeah.
Because I remember bringing Sam on stage after I was kind of a vet. The fact that I was the MC meant I was in it, and I remember getting in trouble with Mitzi because I thought Sam was so amazing, and I thought I was so hot as a comic that I could do what I wanted to do. And one night, I introduced Sam as my cousin from Peoria, and he came on stage, and he fucking killed. He crushed it. And he preached, he did comedy, it was just amazing. And Mitzi banned me from the Comedy Store for a while because she couldn't let me just do what I wanted to do. She had said no Sam yet. And I was like, fuck that, this guy's a genius. But Mitzi wasn't ready to put him on yet.
Oh,
as a matter of fact, Mitzi hadn't put Pauly on yet.
That I see.
Yeah, he's still not ready for the Comedy Store. But
That I'm with Mitchie on that. Now, Arsenio, you okay,
Pauly is
so
almost ready for
all right,
for the East Side Comedy
all right,
Store.
let's bet. So so you're doing stand up 5-6 years. You're on the road. You're opening for Patti LaBelle, and then. Okay, so did you know Eddie from him dropping by and doing stuff?
Let's see. I met Eddie in front of the Improv.
Okay.
And he was out here to do the Tonight Show.
His first one, the one where he told the audience to shut up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But even bigger than that, the conversation that we were having on the sidewalk in front of the Improv that night was that Eddie was going to use the N-word on the Tonight Show. And Johnny was saying no. And we were confounded because if you remember, Johnny used the N-word with Richard.
In an interview?
Yeah, there's a famous interview
Right, I think
where
I've seen that.
Johnny says to
I've
Richard,
never seen that.
you
I gotta
use
see
the
that.
N-word, but he doesn't say N-word. He says nigga. And this is how the times have changed and how the political correctness has swapped. If I'm not mistaken, Johnny says, do you get in trouble, and I'm paraphrasing, with everything except the word nigga. Do you get in trouble or have any problems using that word? Because I'm sure there are people, black people, that don't like you using that word. And they had a great conversation about it. Great conversation. So years later, I'm on the sidewalk talking to Eddie, and Keenan and Damon, I think, is there. And the conversation is that they don't want him to use the N-word on The Tonight Show. And what his joke was, classic famous joke, where Eddie says, walks out. There aren't many black comics on The Tonight Show. He walks out and he says, you know what, before we get started, why don't you all say the word nigga to get it out of your system? And everybody responds just like you two did.
Yeah.
It's like shock, laughter, everything.
Yeah.
Johnny was like, you're not doing that. And I thought, I was a fan of Johnny. I wanted to beat Johnny. So I explained that story, and then it became, wait a minute then. Eddie was like, I'm doing my bit. And he did his bit.
Did he do that?
He did exactly that.
Did it get cut out?
I don't think it's on. It might be a different appearance because I don't think he did that.
I don't know whether they bleeped it, but I do know Eddie did his bit.
Okay.
And we got to find that tape and find out whether it was bleeped and which shot it was.
The first one he came out and he goes, shut up. They're all applauding.
Yeah.
He does predominantly black family, and he did the Sears watch bit.
And here's why and by the way, we should research this because we might find out that Eddie didn't do the bit, but this conversation was about doing it, and I thought he did it. And not only do I think he did it, but the controversy, I believe, was that it was his first shot. And he was like, hey.
Man, that is confidence, huh?
I posted the set to on Twitter about a year ago, and it got 100 retweets because I said, look at the confidence before he says a fucking word.
Yeah.
And he's wearing that back. It's just like, God damn it, dude.
We got to find out. We got to.
No, I'll put it on. I'll put it on. All right.
We got to find out. And then we got to find out if it's not there, the story behind that.
Yeah, fine.
Why? Can I ask you this? You can decline this question.
Yeah.
Why do you think Eddie doesn't do stand-up now?
Eddie wants to do stand-up.
Yes.
So bad.
Yeah.
So what you're asking me is just a temporary inconvenience. That question is going to be answered soon.
June 11th.
Yeah.
Heard it here.
Dana White. Presents. By the way, speaking of Dana White, the whole Kings of Comedy concept, I remember one time when a boxing promoter who's deceased now named Butch Lewis, who used to wear a tie with no shirt with his suit. Remember Butch Lewis? Butch Lewis was the young Don
Trust
King.
me, if I'd seen that, I'd remember.
We would remember.
Okay. You're such a negrophile. I figured you would probably
That'd be the name of the podcast.
you had met Butch Lewis. But Butch Lewis came, and I heard this conversation, came to Eddie and said, I got a great idea. The champions of comedy, the kings of comedy, the big ballers of comedy have to do this concert, 4 of you. Like you and Richard and Bill. And we'll find somebody to host it. Now I'm sitting there saying,
Yeah.
you know. But
Okay.
To the point. How did you get the show the first time?
Okay, can I tell you that Charlie told me the story. He's again, it's through Charlie's crazy filled. Uncle Ray may have told me the story. A. Murphy told me the story.
Yeah.
That you showed up one time on a motorcycle with fucked up jeans, and you and Eddie had some sort of sit down meeting, and You came out of the meeting and you had he was like, I'm going to take this guy into Paramount to do a talk show.
Oh no, because here's what you forget. I got a talk show because of an unfortunate situation with Joan Rivers.
Okay.
Oh yeah, right.
With her husband?
Yeah. So that story.
So that's just a Charlie crazy.
That would make you have to white out all of history. But you remember Joan left her show and her husband
committed suicide. Yeah.
Maybe or whatever. And let's see. Okay, Joan is at Foxx. Somehow she leaves her show, and they audition people by letting them host each night.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
Again, Wild
Suzanne
West.
Summers, Wally Cox. And everybody in between.
Yeah.
They gave me a shot.
You did stand up on the show, though, right? At one point?
I done stand up when Joan was the host.
Yes.
So they knew that guy. They had Moon Zappa's dad.
Frank
Zappa. They had Frank Zappa hosting. An argument ensued in the middle of the day. Frank Zappa pulls, get in his car, and leave. He gets in his car and leaves, and they call me. I'm at the cleaners on the first cell phone ever made. Big motherfucker with a possum tail.
It's the same height as you. You're welcome.
It's a big phone. They call me. I'm at the cleaners. I grab the suit that I have in the cleaners and go to Foxx, and I host that show that night. At that time, I don't know Charlie or Eddie or anybody, because if I knew them, I would have had a hell of a first guest. But instead,
you knew him from stand up a little bit or no?
At that time, yes, I knew him as the guy from SNL. I think
when you did Joan Rivers, though, it was like '87.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
okay.
but
you just didn't see him.
Yeah, he
probably
my
disappeared.
buddy.
He probably wasn't in the clubs a whole lot anyway.
Right, and he was this famous New York guy on SNL who lived in New York and worked every day. And I think I might have met him or whatever, but I didn't know him where I could say he was my friend or call him as a guest. So I called my former boss, Alan Thicke.
The great Alan Thicke.
The great Alan Thicke. When Alan Thicke had a talk show called
Robin's
Thicke of the
father?
Night.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
When Alan Thicke had a talk show, I was his announcer. I was the guy that said, Alan Thicke. I was that guy.
Yep.
So I called Alan, and I said, can you come do this talk show? They're going to let me host Joan Rivers' show tonight. And he was busy or in Canada or something, and he sent Gloria Loren, who is Robin's mom.
Yeah.
Gloria Loren came, and he didn't send her. I should say he dispatched a woman to me to sing.
He clapped, and she went over. Yeah.
But I think it was his suggestion because she had a hit record with Carl Anderson, and at that time it was approaching #1. She came. She was my guest, and that's how I got into the talk show game. I left that show, and they replaced it with something called the Wilt North Report, which was already planned, so I was just holding a spot. Eddie and I
Did
were
they
working.
tell you, like, hey, we're thinking about you?
No, because there's already a show. I'm watching the development of a show in that office.
Got it.
So, but I'm cool because Eddie and I are working on a script.
How did you? I thought you didn't know. You did know?
Well, see, after that ended, I don't think I knew him enough to call him as a guest.
Yeah.
But after that ended, we're sitting around. He had an idea on a yellow pad, if I remember correctly. And to be honest with you, I wasn't supposed to be in Coming to America. I was one of the guys who's pitching jokes, and we're talking an idea. This was Eddie's idea on a yellow pad.
He'd had the idea for years, I think.
Yeah.
Because he told me that he promised. You ever hear the story where he promised a part to Rudy Ray Moore?
I wouldn't doubt it. I know I wasn't in it.
Eddie Murphy is a Dolomite Rudy Ray Moore fanatic, lunatic for Rudy Ray Moore. Makes you watch documentaries about him at his house. I'm sure he's done it to you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so then you're just sitting
As a matter
around.
of fact, one night we're watching Rudy Ray Moore, and there are obscure things that go on in Rudy Ray Moore's movies, like an actor will be fired and another actor will replace him in the next scene.
So Eddie's got this idea, and so you're kind of punching it up with him, or you're
I think, God, I may. Hindsight isn't always 20/20, but I think I had met Eddie twice at this point, And a bunch of guys are sitting around, and we're talking about this idea. And it sounds like a really funny idea, but it doesn't happen then.
Right.
A little later, I remember him saying, we should think about doing this together.
Based on what? Based on your act? Had he seen you stand up? Had you opened for him?
I remember him saying once, well, later it became more clear. I went with him to a pitch meeting for this movie. And I had a pretty good take on the movie and different characters, but they didn't like the movie.
Was it at Paramount? Do you remember?
It was. It was at Paramount.
Yeah,
they didn't like it because he had a deal. He had to do it there. They didn't like the movie, and I remember them saying, "There's something missing." One day he calls me and says, "We got to talk." And he said, "You know what's missing? Everybody wants me to do characters like on SNL. We got to be the people we meet in America." That was the sentence that sold it and changed everything. And we went back in. I think there was a different guy running Paramount at that point, and Eddie pitched us being the people we meet when we come here. And just that general. You know, just things like we arrive at the airport, the guy who drives us is one of us.
Right.
It was as simple as that. And that's what really sold that movie.
Was that the first time anyone had done anything like that?
Well, I remember we used to talk about Holy Moses because Richard did a movie where he played 3 characters.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was very interesting. But that movie came out of a bunch of guys sitting pitching jokes in a room.
Who were the guys?
Oh, gosh.
Keenan.
Clint Smith was around. Keenan was around. Paul Mooney was around. You know, comics sitting around.
Yeah.
Just pitching and being funny.
Yeah.
All right, you do the Joan Rivers thing, you get the shot, and then you get the show. Is that?
And then you did Coming to America. You got shot Coming to America.
Yeah. I got the Joan Rivers show. Then I do Coming to America. And then there's this moment where I realized I loved doing that Joan Rivers show. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember.
You wanted there to just be a stool and a cup of water, though.
Yeah,
that was your only
pretty
thing
much. Get rid of the desk.
Right there.
Give me a stool with a cup of water. I'm there. It was bizarre because that movie, in that period of my life got really focused. I realized I had so much fun doing that talk show. And Paramount came to me with a 3-picture deal. And I said, no. Because I knew what I was thinking. The most fun I've ever had, the happiest I've ever been, was that 11 weeks doing that talk show. So I started talking to people because I'm thinking, like, where am I going to get? Nobody's going to give me a talk show.
So you did 11 weeks replacing. It wasn't just one show. It was 55 shows or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of leave these spaces. They gave me the show after trying it 2 or 3 times.
Got it. Oh, so you won the contest,
right? They narrowed it down to me and Suzanne Summers, and I got it. And got to keep it for 11 weeks while they finished something called the Wilton North Report.
But that's not the show that I remember that I grew up on.
No, that's not the Arsenio Hall Show.
Because this is Foxx.
Right.
And that's why it's so common. And so I do that show. I go do some time goes by. We write Coming to America with Blostein and Sheffield in New York in the Mayflower Hotel, which doesn't even exist anymore.
Yeah. Was it kind of dumpy then, or was it all right then?
It was very dumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was,
and Eddie, that's where Eddie put you guys up?
I stayed at Eddie's crib. I think Blostein and Sheffield went to Mayflower. And I'll tell you why. Because I think it was next door to Paramount.
You're right. The Trump Tower.
Yeah. I was new to New York, but I think that was the reason. So I would write there and sit there with them all day, and then I would stay out in
and I'm sure you guys
Jersey.
would just go to sleep early at Bubble Hill.
Oh, man.
You would just indoor pool,
those were
bowling
the good
alley.
Old days. Those were the good old days, man.
Oh, yeah?
You
like
get
what?
To learn.
Tell us what you learned.
You get to learn New York clubs. I had never been to New York.
All we want are some stories.
Oh,
man.
yeah. I learned New York from Charlie and Eddie.
Yeah. To hear Charlie tell, do you have any anecdotes that jump out at you about, like, wow, that's very powerful?
Yeah.
Eddie's majesty and power over women?
Yeah. And Charlie was security then.
Yeah. No, I know. He wasn't good. Do you have any anecdotes that stick out in your head?
No, not at all.
Yeah, you don't remember anything all of a sudden, huh?
Charlie basically said that Eddie would walk in to a club and he would literally just do a lap and women would follow you guys all out and you'd go to Jersey.
It was uncanny. As a matter of fact, I think the funniest story of that nature was shooting Coming to America on the Paramount lot and going to a club for our lunch break. because here's the deal.
You're night shooting.
Yeah, we're doing a night shoot.
Oh, my God.
We're dressed as Simi and Akeem. Okay?
Oh, it's like the real movie
Yes,
coming through.
we're at Paramount. We take a break for lunch, and Eddie looks at me and says, let's hit a club. And we jump in a limo, go to a club.
In my head, it's the limo from the beginning of Raw. Go ahead, the limo he pulled up.
We come back to Paramount and tell the guard, those 20 cars are with us. Because they would let him do anything he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is 20 cars followed the limo back in. We brought the party from the club back to Paramount while we finished the shoot. So we finished shooting that night, and then the party was in the trailers on the lot. But the part that I left out, we're in a club, and I'm dressed like an African, and he has a long ponytail. Remember that long-ass ponytail? And chicks didn't even say anything. Like,
they didn't mention it.
Yeah,
at
a
all.
woman. You're supposed to say, "Hey, how you doing?" She was like, "What the fuck are you dressed as?"
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to say to a guy.
Like, fine, Eddie, how are you?
Not fair.
Fine, Your Majesty.
They didn't even know the movie was out. They were already calling him Your Majesty.
They have no idea what we're shooting. And fun days though.
Yeah,
Fun
no.
days.
Eddie told a story about. He goes, Denzel at the club used to just be a little motherfucker from St. Elsewhere in a baseball hat in the corner.
Yeah, and I remember even before then. I remember Robert. I remember Robert Townsend during the shoot of a movie called Carbon Copy. Saying, after the Comedy Store, let's go get a bite to eat. Can my friend Denzel come? And I remember the next time I heard of his friend Denzel, he said, Denzel's going to do a project with Howie Mandel. And it was
St.
Elsewhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
All right, we got to get to the.
All right. So you get the show. Basically, Paramount offers you the 3-picture deal, and you're like, no, I would take a talk show though.
No, because I don't even understand syndication. There's no such thing, and Paramount is the wrong person to talk about TV to.
Right.
So I didn't tell him what I wanted. I just said no. And I went back to Foxx and asked Foxx what they thought of that. Because now there is a space, because this show that they put in Jones' place isn't doing well.
Yeah.
And they talked with me, and they wouldn't give me a piece of it. I wanted points of some nature. And the reason I remember...
And you knew. How did you even know about that?
Here's why I remember the story specifically. I was so green and stupid. I went to Quincy Jones, and he explained a few things about his friend Oprah. And Quincy suggested that I do something like an escalating scale. Something that if they can't pay you now, make them pay you on performance. Tell them, I'll do it for whatever you want to pay me. But if it does well, I do well. And he said, use the word escalating scale. Try to get a salary that starts with a certain rating point and increases as your rating points increase. And if you believe in yourself, you win.
Yeah.
And you'll do well financially. So I went in and pitched that alone. And didn't tell them Quincy told me, but they said...
They did say, who the hell told you that, though, right?
Well, they just, they were like, just get the fuck out of here. we can't even believe that we're listening to you. Get the fuck out of here. You're lucky to even be in a room indoors.
Yeah.
But back to my escalating scale.
Before
I go.
Yeah. And so the bottom line is, I didn't know where else to go. I didn't know Paramount would talk to me about syndication. And there was a lady named Lucy Sohaney who heard about that meeting and how they said, get the fuck out of here. and she waited in a parking lot for me. These elements of your career are so specific.
She waited in what parking lot?
In the parking lot outside of Breckheimer and Simpson's office, who were famous producers.
Who did 48 Hours.
Yeah, Mr. Simpson's gone, Jerry Breckheimer's still around. She stood out there because she knew I would eventually come to Eddie's office, which was on the top floor. Okay. And I get out of my car, and she says, excuse me.
Hey, motherfucker.
Yeah. And she
You're that escalating scale, motherfucker.
Get him.
I would like to talk to you about an escalating scale.
I'm going to escalate your fucking ass right now. How about an escalating ass whooping?
Bottom line is I met with her. And she said, escalating scale, huh? You know, but she gave me points based on my execution, and the better the show did, the better I personally did, and I owe that to Quincy, who was very aware of things in the syndicated business world because he's a friend of Oprah.
Right, Oprah probably only had $15 million at that point. Not kidding. Not even kidding. Right. Maybe she had $15 million.
Right. People don't realize also that it was not an ABC show flat out. It was the most historic syndicated situation in history.
Oprah was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, he cast Oprah for Color Purple off of her local show in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
That's how good his taste
Crazy.
is. Okay, so you start, you basically get the show at Paramount, escalating scale.
Yes.
Here's how I recall.
They give me a base salary. They offer me a base salary, and they offer me points for every rating point above a certain point.
Right. And looking back, I'm sure the rating point that they offered was sort of comically low, or was it high, fair? What was it?
I used to call them hyena points because at that time, it really wasn't a lot. The great thing was when the show did well, and Eddie's manager told me this. He said, by the way, and this was the greatest sentence ever, in success, everything can be renegotiated.
I tell people that all the time.
Right.
He was like, don't trip. Take the fucking show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when you had this show, did you feel on your shoulders like, I'm doing a black show, I'm doing the hip-hop generation's talk show? Did you feel that, or was that just some natural organic?
No, because initially I didn't know what I was doing. Initially, I remember calling Alan King.
Wow.
I'm calling people that I grew up watching.
Yeah.
I remember going to David Steinberg's dressing room once when I knew I was about to get a show. I wanted to do what everyone else was doing. I wanted to do what my hero Johnny did. And one day, I'm talking to Russell Simmons because I can't get guests. There were people I opened for like Robert Goulet who were like, good luck.
This is when you
fucking see me there.
You couldn't book.
Couldn't get
this is
guests.
when you were just trying to book the show before it started.
Right. Or while it's on at this point. You know, I can't book
remember
it.
being hot out of the box.
Wait, we're talking about, no.
I'm talking about the Arsenio Hall Show.
No, not hot out of the box at all. As a matter of fact, the first night, I couldn't get guests. People were saying, let's wait and see how it does.
Right.
I called Brooke Shields, and she did it, and I called Luther Vandross. And Luther thought I was calling about the theme. That's probably the only reason he answered. He got on the phone, and he said, you're looking for a theme song, aren't you? And I said, no, I'm looking for a music guest for my first show. So that was my first show, Brooke Shields. That's the first booking. Brooke Shields' second booking was Luther Vandross. But back before my Paramount show, when I was on that Joan Rivers experience at Foxx, nobody would do the show.
Yeah,
man.
I believe that.
And what happened was I was talking to Russell Simmons, and Russell Simmons was like, there's a generation that doesn't have a show.
Right.
And I think him and Rick Rubin were hanging then.
Yeah.
And they were only approaching me because they knew they had some talent if they could get me to understand what the void and need for me was. And he told me about a kid named James. And they got me LL
James
Cool
Todd?
J.
Yeah.
So and after that I did Houdini, Freaks Come Out at Night.
Were
But
you even-
it helped me define, I don't need Alan King.
Right.
Right.
You weren't probably a huge hip hop fan, right?
I think I was a hip hop fan because
Okay.
I remember saying to myself, Oprah and Don Cornelius aren't happy about the direction of music. I knew somehow that Don Cornelius, who was my hero and who taught me a lot about producing, I somehow knew within the Hollywood community that Oprah and Don weren't crazy about rap music. So
Right.
I saw it as not only a niche that I could own, but I could even own it because black shows weren't doing it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's, from my recollection, I mean, there's all this hip-hop history from the Arsenio Hall Show.
Yeah.
Including that wonderful interview with Vanilla Ice, one of my
that
favorite
was-
moments in broadcast history.
Thank you. Thank
Crazy
you for that.
day. It was a
Yeah,
crazy
we
day.
all white people would like to thank you. On behalf of white hip-hop fans, we'd like to thank you for taking
Wow.
Vanilla Ice to task.
Okay. Well,
I'm still really tight with Snow.
Oh, yeah?
Anyway. If that'll help my crossover.
do you know what he said after now?
Licky
Did he
boom
ever
boom down.
explain?
Licky boom boom down. It's clear.
Okay,
man.
so you start the show. Here's the thing I'll say about you and Eddie.
Yeah.
Is that you never really felt the mantle of. You never bought into the I'm the rep for all black people. Am I wrong about that?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think it was because there are black celebrities that were really hard on us,
Right.
telling us how to do it and what we should do and shouldn't do. And we just always felt that we should be allowed as a generation, because it is art, we should be
Right.
allowed as a generation to find our way and not be spanked so much for don't do this and don't do that.
Right. Okay, which brings us. Will you just disabuse people of that Farrakhan thing? Because people go, he had the show and then he started getting too greasy and had Farrakhan on, and the white man was da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. What should I?
No, what was the story? Is that you had were unhappy, so you had Farrakhan on to like fuck with white people.
Oh.
But I've heard you say that that's not true.
Yeah, you know what? Farrakhan was a lot like many bookings where you deal with it out of curiosity. Keep in mind, my partner in the creation of the Arsenio Hall Show was a Jewish woman. So we're not thinking we're doing it for any reasons that I'm sure some people would assume. I mean, I was part of a two-headed beast, and my sensibilities were me and her. I met Louis Farrakhan at a restaurant, and he told me about the Million Man March.
He was eating a BLT, correct?
He actually was. You know what? I think I'll just let you have that joke all on your own. I was just
Don't
about.
tag it. You know
I was
what
just about to
Arsenio
tag it
No,
because I'm
no,
a comedian.
leave it.
And that's what we do. We had a conversation, and he told me about some stuff that I thought would be interesting in an interview. Mm-hmm. Maybe not so much. But the bottom line is, me and my producer wanted to do someone that we thought would be interesting.
So you weren't unhappy. You didn't do it to thumb your nose up at white people. You weren't having problems with Paramount. You weren't having problems.
And can I tell you something even more interesting? I had resigned from the show by the time I put Farrakhan on.
Yeah, why did you resign?
I just thought that I should do some other things in my life. I thought I came to Hollywood because you don't punch a clock and do the same thing every day like some of my relatives did. I was a different cat. I wanted to come to Hollywood and have a life full of more diversity. Now I've been doing this show for a few years. I'm thinking maybe I do want to do some acting now and some other things. And don't forget, I'm the comic who never got to do his HBO special.
Right.
Never got to tour. Now I'm famous enough to do these things. It just happened that what I thought I left for wasn't the reason I left. And once I was gone, I felt the void in my life was personal and not professional. But I initially left because I wanted to do some things that working on a talk show every night wouldn't allow you to do. I wrote a letter to a development person at Paramount named Carrie McCluggage. And it was just basically, I'm from Cleveland, man. I don't know how to do it. I wrote a resignation letter like it was fucking Kmart. I wrote a letter saying I'm going to move on. He had me come to his office.
Did you tell anybody beforehand? Did you say
no,
like the
no,
staff,
because I knew
anybody?
because you and I have a friend who would have tried to talk me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have tried to talk me out of it. So I did that meeting secretly. And It was literally a meeting I did because I thought there were other things for me to do.
How long you been doing the show? 3.5, 4 years?
I did it for 5.
Okay.
And so then, I'm away and I have a kid.
So you retire.
Oh, yeah.
Show ends.
I leave it, and then I realize it's not even about show business. I realize I want to work on my relationship with my girl, and we had a kid. And I had done smart things with my paper, so I was in good shape. It wasn't until I was standing on a set 20 years later with George Lopez that I realized how much I missed it. Or doing a field piece for Leno and having to be in the guts of the Tonight Show, looking around and feeling it again. And I realized I was missing it, but I didn't say anything to anybody until one night at Ron Burkle's house. We're hanging at Ron Burkle's house, who is a guy we all know, very wealthy, billionaire, supermarket magnate.
Yeah. Like showbiz people, like show folk.
Yeah.
If you get rich enough, everybody, listeners, if you get rich enough, you can just get famous people to hang out with you.
They'll just
they'll just hang out. If you have a nice house and bring some bitches,
yes,
showbiz people will be there.
But the operative word is bitches now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got
green apples and pussy now. So you retired, and you didn't have any, no one stood in your way. No one. You just retired because you felt like, I just want to do some other stuff.
Oh, yeah. And no one did anything to me. The show was never
it the
canceled.
thing with Letterman's clearances?
Well, by the way, that's a very inside syndicated thing.
Right.
There was something going on, and it's very complicated.
Right.
Letterman was about to go to CBS. CBS was my syndicated affiliate, which gave me my power base. If Letterman goes to CBS, now I would have to be all syndicated stations like WOR in Secaucus, New Jersey. I didn't think that was a strong enough power base. My agent at that time, who was also Letterman's agent and doing Letterman's deal, said, if you're going to leave, now is the time. Because the power base is about to change drastically. Right. That was Michael Ovitz.
Yeah.
But that always is so inside show business and hard to explain.
Right. But it is part of the story.
But it's very important.
Okay.
Because if you look at what I made and the power structure of syndication, a station like WBBM, which is a CBS Chicago station, instead of having that, for example, I might have to be on channel 79 WZZ.
You were on a ton of CBS networks,
strong CBS
and
affiliates,
probably the top 40 cities in the country. And then those all, they were like, well, we're gonna have Letterman at 11:30.
Right,
get to stepping.
So figure out what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, that's gonna happen in a year. Let me leave. Let me leave from a position of strength while I'm on top, because I don't know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
So I leave, me and my girl have a kid, and I'm extremely happy. I'm happier than I've ever been. I have a kid. I never thought I'd have a kid.
How come? You just never thought you would?
Yeah, I didn't think I was, I told Magic on the show tonight that it was babysitting for him and Cookie that made me say, I could do this. I might want to have a kid. And I was very, very happy until my son turned like 13 or 14 and started saying, why don't you drop me off in Seattle and I'll walk the rest of the way.
Yeah.
You don't have to take me.
You're no longer needed, basically.
Yeah. I mean, one time I took my son to Jaden Smith's birthday party. And he said, you can drop me off over. I'm like, hey, I knew them before you.
Right.
Hey, don't give me this drop me off. Those are my friends in there. I'm going to drop you off, and I'm going in the party, and you walk the rest of the way.
That's awesome.
So you had that moment, and I know we got to wrap it up, but you had that moment with Lopez.
Only because I just saw my assistant start to nod, and she's usually a
How
barometer
could you
as
be
to whether
falling
I'm
asleep?
boring.
You're not being boring.
No, you're not.
It's your assistant. It's your assistant doesn't appreciate
this is
true
blow,
podcasting
yeah,
gold.
Good podcast
conversation.
conversation.
It's going to blow you up, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So finally, so you leave the show. That is an interesting thing because it was the first time you had what can only be described as a shitload of money, right?
Yeah.
And
that was a little too satisfied.
Because you know what? I remember.
Yes.
Our friend Mark.
Yes. It's our accountant.
Yeah.
I'm in by the way, me and Arsenio have the same accountant. I'm in the junior boys division. Go ahead.
No, sir, not now. Mark took my first check for $1 million
Uh-huh.
and put it in Lucite.
Great.
Cool show business story. But things were good.
Yeah.
Things were good.
You know what's fucked up? He didn't do that for me. I don't even want to get into it, but he didn't do that for me.
Quickly, what? Now you've got this new show. What do you?
Can we talk about what was it? What was your day to day like? And when you weren't doing the show,
When I wasn't doing the show.
Yeah, just raising.
Yeah. After my son was born, it was incredible because do you have any kids?
No.
Either of you? Okay, it starts off with you just on the floor looking at his skin, looking at his fat. And it's the greatest thing in the world because it goes from that to teaching him to throw a ball, shoot a ball, what music is good and bad.
Right.
It's a blank canvas.
Hey, fuck you, Dad. Drop me off here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Cut to, Dad, you're going too close to my friend's house.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, my life was really normal, and that was what was cool. My life was sitting talking to women at Chuck E. Cheese about parenting. I always felt like I was around a lot of housewives. It's interesting when you're a dad in that situation, you notice things. First of all, there seemed to be more women every place I was at. And also,
And they weren't there for you and Eddie.
no,
They were
not
just-
at all. Yeah.
Every once in a while, though, you put on a old African robe and
You
go
imagine-
to an abandoned club and just stare at the door.
Bring hoes to Chuck E. Cheese.
These next 20 hoes are with me.
Yes, yes, let them all in. Let 'em all, hey,
Don't
let 'em
call
in.
us hoes. We're the mother
Tell
of
'em-
your son's
Tell 'em
classmates.
I'll be in the ball pit. They need me.
Shut up, ho. No, you know me.
Excuse me. My life was very normal, and I loved being a dad. So I just did it. It was bizarre. I think it was so the opposite of what show business was. You're not important. It teaches you lessons of unconditional love, and I had a great time learning to be a dad and being a dad. Just things like how do you cut a temperature? I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I loved it. I had a great time doing that. And nothing's more bizarre than to be sitting here in this green room that says Douggpound on it 20 years later.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, life is long, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like it's
Yeah.
long and it's so there's so many weird reversals.
I had no idea I would ever host a talk show. I remember filling in for Piers Morgan, trying to just let my face be seen again so people remembered me. And I called Magic and Cookie.
Yeah.
And I said, come be my guest because I'm thinking about coming back to the talk show and you all give me a comfort zone. So I know I can do that interview. And I did it on Piers. By the way, I got to tell you this because when I talked about Ron Burkle, we can cut that in.
Yeah.
We're at Ron Burkle's house. I'm sitting with Diddy, Michael Jackson, Vivica Fox, the kind of people that hang at Ron Burkle's house.
Yeah.
And I only say that to say how long it took to get actually back on the air because Michael's gone now. He was there that night. It took like 5 years to sell the show and get it back on the air. And it was amazing.
Was
what I
this
learned.
before The Apprentice or after The Apprentice?
This was after the. Well, the interesting thing is I had sold the show before Apprentice.
Wow.
But Tribune told me, let's hope you win.
You need
or,
to-
yeah,
you need
or
to
at least
get out
get to
there.
the
You
middle.
need-
My
Yeah.
thing was like, I just don't want to get fired first.
Yeah.
And then I was planning on doing a stand-up tour. But when it worked out good at Apprentice, and I ended up being 2 hours every Sunday night,
Yeah.
prime time, and I'm here to the end, that was the exposure I needed that I was going to try to get touring as a stand-up. But yeah, when I signed up for Apprentice, it was because me and my partners were sitting at dinner and we said, okay, we got the show. We're lining up the stations for syndication. You got to get out there and get your face in front of every camera possible. And Apprentice was a great way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great.
So you're,
But okay, so we're sitting in that room, and it's just weird that it took so long because I think people, and the only reason I'm so adamant about saying this, people within the sound of our voices don't give up because it took a long time, and I've done it before. I've won at this.
Yeah, you're Arsenio Hall, and it's still. That's what I was telling
The
you.
only reason people know me is because of a talk show.
Yeah.
And I couldn't sell it.
Right.
It took me. I mean, I thought Michael would be around by the time I got.
You
on
had
the
him
air.
booked for the first show.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I just
well,
made that up.
you know what? I'm thinking in my mind that night, Michael is going to do a walk on that first show.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
thinking about that.
Okay, so all right, so what's the difference between the old show and the new show? What is your mentality? And the hard thing about doing something again is how much do I make it like what I did, and how much do I vary, and how much, and who are you, and do you change up your style and your speed?
Who are you? Yeah.
Do you? So what do you? What's your take on it? Like, what do you?
The quick answer is I am the same Arsenio in a different time. And if I had stayed on the air, my show would evolve and change. The set would change. I would go from Alan Thicke to Robin Thicke.
Right.
And that's basically what's going on. I am exactly who I would have been if I had stayed in the game and evolved and changed. Like this Douggpound, eventually this Douggpound would have come out of the showroom and become a green room because I would have said it's time to change that.
Okay, so that was the MO. The MO was, let's just pretend this is, instead of the re-up, it's the this is our 5,000th episode of the Arsenio Hall Show.
Because here's the deal. If I had still been on the air, I slowly would have been introduced on air to social media. Hit me at Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, the interesting thing is there are people on air who have gone to the social media era kicking and screaming. It's interesting to watch people who are
Absolutely.
there. Some of them don't want it.
Right.
One of the interesting things about the
Our friend
Tonight
Edward
Show-
doesn't seem, our friend Eddie doesn't seem especially
God,
interested.
yeah.
He made fun of it on the show.
And Eddie is not crazy about social media. The thing about me is I've always been into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Gadgets, technology.
Yeah.
They called me Inspector Gadget when I was a kid because I would take apart a black and white Emerson TV and put it back together. I'm into stuff like that. So
And you solve murders. Go ahead.
that too. That too. When I got involved with the new show, it was perfect for me because all the stuff that guys my age hate, I love.
Great.
Well, yeah, it's a good thing that you went to that Franklin Ajay show.
Long story short, thank you, Franklin Ajay. We
you,
thank
Franklin.
Franklin every episode anyway,
Yeah,
so
that's
this actually
right. He's our sponsor.
When
This
I
actually
say
worked.
I'll see you in 23 hours, that's really code for thank you, Franklin.
Yeah, when you the thing that was a tribute to the finger thing was a tribute to
And if you do a freeze frame of the finger, I have drawn a photo of Franklin on my. Actually, you know how you can see Jesus in a potato chip? You see that? A lot of people think I slam my finger in a door.
That's Franklin?
No,
Franklin's
that's
guy.
if you look closely at that, that's Franklin in my thumbnail. That's not a bruise.
Not picking
That's
up his
Franklin,
phone when
yes,
you move the
yes. This is Franklin like this.
this motherfucker.
Well, thank you, man.
Yo,
Thank
man,
you
thanks.
very much.
Appreciate it.
Really,
I don't know
hope-
what y'all gonna do with all this shit.
Nothing.
This is
It's-
an editing
this-
nightmare.
No, it's
No,
not.
no
'cause
editing,
the
man.
thing about podcasts is
Okay.
no, we don't. The thing about podcasts is people just like people will listen to this whole thing. Like this is the future. Like
This is what everybody's
this
on now.
little shit.
Uh-huh.
We've had 3 million downloads
Wow.
of this. Literally of this.
I did one of these with Corolla and one with Penn Jillette.
Yeah.
Are those good ones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're great.
Corolla's
Okay.
the top comedy one, I think. that
Yeah, he
exists.
probably
Yeah.
gets a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's big. But no, that's like this is like it's all smaller, it's all more personal. That's the shit.
Yeah, man.
And you're smart, brother.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something, brother? You're smart, homie.
No, this is the way, nigga.
Thank you, man.
Wait. Oh, never. No, nigga, I don't want a piece of the pie. I want the recipe.
Arsenio Hall, thank you very much, man.
Now you're fucking with the Champs.
I didn't have diamonds in my chain. That Chevy horn sounded like a train. We made a movie, and I was so proud of my address. Reppin' Ridge Road, T-Town. Photos on the Chevy. Every song I represent that 904. And every weekend you can catch me in the running. And everybody who know me know that I rep the win squad. And them niggas getting money. The haters used to say, there go young cash tipping in that H2T thing. Call my phone telling me to come through and I don't care. Cause never ever did I dream that Teddy Payne would blow up and now we making millions. Got enough money to take care of my children. I don't care. Cause we came from nothing and most niggas ain't loyal. My dog came back for me. He got me off for SRC when I was still moving keys. Nigga went to prison. Everybody turned it back so big. It's cool. Young cats gon' keep it G. No.
And I'm in love with being baby.
Seems like yesterday we was drinking Crown Royal.